Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, today's reading is a continuation of a part of Paul's letter in 2 Corinthians. And in this section, it talks about the collection of funds, or what I'd like to call a love gift, for the suffering church in Jerusalem. Because at that time, there was poverty arising from severe persecution and also famine. It makes us think of today, quite a lot of people who are in a situation where there's food crisis, or they couldn't afford to, put food on the table. Anyway, so in response to the crisis, the Corinthian church, along with the other Macedonian churches, what is current day Greece, had committed to send funds to help them. And we know that this collection had been going on for some months, possibly even up to a year. And by now, the poorer Macedonian churches, which is in the northern part of Greece, they were all ready to present their gifts. And it's done with that gracious, joyous spirit of generosity. Whereas the Corinthians, who probably got sidetracked, with other issues, either with one another or with Paul, had failed to follow through with their contribution, even though they were the first, actually, to initiate the giving earlier on. So Paul here reminds them to show their sincerity and the genuineness of their love by their action, and not just words of enthusiasm. You can imagine earlier on this, wouldn't it be a good idea to do that? So anyway, here we see, or we reminded yesterday that Paul is like a father reminding his children to get their act together. In other words, to, start collecting the funds and that you said you would collect. So today, I also want to note in yesterday's discussion, it wasn't in the recording, but it was this reminder that Paul gave to Corinthians to get their funds ready. Is distinctively different from manipulating them or arm twisting them into giving, against their will. And it's certainly not done in a competitive manner, such as, when you're richer, you should outgive the Macedonians. Paul certainly did not do that. Okay, so let's be very clear about that. So I'm entitling today's message, Money Matters. Money Matters. It is a short passage, just 8 verses, but how immensely practical, relevant, and applicable are the principles of handling money, specifically funds for charity. Yeah, so Paul had taken the trouble to very carefully write to the Corinthians, about this whole matter. I've asked our brother Jonathan to read through once for us. It was straight through the 8 verses. But I'd like you to pay attention to 2 persons whilst he's reading. Yeah, these 2 persons, their names are not mentioned. Okay, it might be nice that if you imagine yourself as one of these people, okay, and see what Paul says about you in his letter.
Right. The reading for today is taken from 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Reading from verse 16 and all the way to verse 24. I thank God who put into the heart of Titus the same concern I have for you. For Titus not only welcomed our appeal, but is coming to you with much enthusiasm and on his own initiative. And we are sending along with him the brother who is praised by all the churches for his service to the gospel. Verse 19. What is more, he was chosen by the churches to accompany us as we carry the offering, which we administer in order to honor the Lord himself and to show our eagerness to help. We want to avoid any criticism of the way we minister this liberal gift. verse 21. For we are taking pains to do what is right, not only in the eyes of the Lord, but also in the eyes of men. In addition, we are sending with them our brother, who has often proved to us in many ways that he is zealous, and now even more so because of his great confidence in you. As for Titus, he is my partner and fellow worker among you. As for our brothers, they are representatives of the churches, and an honor to Christ. Last verse 24. Therefore, show this man the proof of your love and the reason for our pride in you, so that the churches can see it. Thank you.
Thank you. So in this reading, we know that Paul is referring to his faithful friend and co-worker Titus. But in addition, there are the two representatives, all right, from other churches, or at least two of them, that are coming soon to Corinth, together with Titus, to oversee the collection. Yeah, this will probably be the final collection before they set off to Jerusalem. So these men are accompanying Paul to Jerusalem as well with a gift. We must bear in mind that in those days, funds that were collected had to be physically carried, couriered by people that either it's yourself or people that you can trust. So imagine carrying all the silver coins and maybe gold bars in your money belt or a pouch around your neck through a long journey. I think some of us remember those days when we go overseas. That's what you do, right? When the credit card doesn't work yet. Okay, so anyway, I just want to quickly run through some of the basic characteristics or the principles involved in money matters, that Paul had mentioned in this whole arrangement, the 8 verses. I tried to arrange them again, beginning with T's. So firstly, they're the people that we know. These are men who are tried and proven. Titus himself was one of them, right? He's a man with the same vision as Paul and has had to deal with a very difficult church, the Corinthians, try to sort them out. So Titus was someone who was tried and proven. Paul speaks highly of him. Second T that I can think of is the testimony of the delegates. In this case, the two men, we don't know exactly which church they're from, but obviously Paul is referring to the churches in Macedonia who has chosen them as their representatives. So obviously, they're men who are respected in their own churches, who bear the testimony of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Okay. Thirdly, the third T that I can think of is teamwork. Here we see even right back in the early days, these men, Titus and the two brothers at least two brothers from the other churches, they're going to be working together as a team as far as this collection of funds go, So there's probably an inter-church situation. They work as a team, they travel as a team, they share wisdom, strength, encouragement. Okay. The fourth T that I can think of is temptation proof. Although strictly speaking, I don't think any one of us is temptation proof, but I think it helps for them in a team to have that kind of mutual accountability, right? I think 2 days ago, Uncle Tin Sing talked about Judas and how as a money bag carer or treasurer or finance minister in Jesus' team, maybe he didn't have too much of an accountability, and that was, the sad ending. But anyway, so when we're facing temptations, and money is a big area, right? The importance of having people around you that you can be accountable to, people who will pray together with you. I think that is very important. Okay. 50 is transparency. So we see here, Paul is talking about these visitors coming to have a look and see what's going on with the Corinthian church, as they collect the funds. So they also must be, the givers, they must be open to observers, watching them. So that's this whole area of transparency in handling funds. And maybe I leave you with the sixth T, the last T that I can think of. It's task-oriented. These men, not only have the churches chosen them, but they were also willing to serve. They were willing to go the extra mile, actually, extra many miles, to accomplish the mission, which was to get the money over from Macedonia or current day Greece, all the way to Jerusalem. Okay. I don't have a map to show you, but I think those of you who attend lunchtime devotion over the last few days, few weeks, you have seen the maps many times. And so here we're talking about a trip from Corinth to Jerusalem. Now, by crow's flight, straight line, it's about 1,300 kilometers, okay? But we know that, if you go on land, so by crow's flight, you'll be crossing the Mediterranean mostly. But if you go on land, you have to go all the way up to the north of Greece. Then you kind of cross over into what is current day Turkey. In those days, they call Bithynia, Galatia. Okay, so cross over to cut right across down to Turkey. And then from there, you'll probably pass through Paul's hometown around Tarsus region and then into Syria down to Jerusalem. So it is quite a long journey and approximately 3,000 kilometers, okay? 3,000 kilometers. Now, if you were a Panda or Grab delivery rider today, carrying all this money or gold bars or silver coins and what have you in your rider box, and if you worked really hard, like my Panda rider yesterday told me, he does 10 hours a day and he covers about 250 kilometers a day. That's what he tells me.
Wow.
Yeah. Even 2 days ago in the rain, he said he tried to do 250 kilometers a day. And I don't know how true it is. But anyway, so I've worked that out, that if you were a Panda or Grab delivery rider on your motorbike doing this journey on land from Corinth all the way to Jerusalem, and if you're doing 10 hours a day, it will take you at least 2 weeks. We haven't counted the terrains yet, up and down. And Roman roads, yes, they are good, but still, this was 2,000 years ago, okay? So, so here we're talking about a journey on land that will take quite a long, long time. So whoever is coming along, you've got to be prepared to take leave from work. But we also know that Paul typically also travels on foot because for private transportation in those days, it's not like, horses that we tend to think of, the Roman cavalry. These people travel on horses, but ordinary folk, they have animal packs. So maybe donkeys or mules or, things like that, oxen. So, he may have done a combination of these, but if he was on foot, he would probably cover about 20 to 30 kilometers on foot a day. So, hard life. Yeah. And not to say of a journey by ship, across the Mediterranean. That would be a little bit shorter journey, but we also know that there are perils in the sea. Paul has faced shipwreck 3 times. The Mediterranean is not as idyllic as we think it is. In those days, there were no passenger cruise. You either go to the port and hop into a merchant ship and hope that you will get to the next port in time and not hit a storm, a weather condition. Just to bring us back to the context that day. But today, I'm very, very delighted And glad to say that the money carriers, the people who carry the money, aren't just restricted to men. In those days, you can understand why you need men, right? I have invited two dear sisters who are familiar to us in their different roles and capacities and their experience in handling designated funds, okay? So they will share with us how maybe some of the above principles that I've mentioned just now, how they apply it in collecting, administering, dispensing charity funds to the Lord, and in a way that is right in the eyes of men. So firstly, let's welcome Mrs. Quek.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, thanks SuYan. Thanks SuYan for giving me some of the teas, right? I think it's a privilege to serve the Lord now, okay? But I have to praise God that, right? I don't have to go on horses and roads, right? We nowadays we have we just go to the bank on the motor car and nearby, and only take a few minutes only, okay? Not a few days. Delivery and come holiday. So okay, my work in SSMC is keeping the accounts for the church. Okay, when I do my work, I reflect on what Paul says in Corinthians 8:20. We want to avoid criticism of the way we administer this liberal gift. Okay. Key points to me in this passage are liberal gift, administer, and avoid any criticism. All right. To me, they mean, point one, liberal gift is collection, gift given freely. Point two, administer means to have or keep proper accounts and records. And the last one, point three, avoid any criticism means avoid any perception of wrongdoing. So how do I do my work with these three key points being observed? All right, liberal gift presently comes in many forms. We know, right? Cash, TTs, via checks, online, and pledges. And there are many sources that I will keep track of them. That I need to keep track of them all. All right. Point two, to ensure that these are administered. To ensure that we administer the collection expenses and disbursement. Well, I need to have the following in place. A, proper accounting records with important details like date received and date expense. For collection, information of the donor's detail, which is optional, well, some of them would like to keep it anonymous. And as for payment, right, instruction has to come from pastors, ministry heads, or appointed personnel. Need two signatures for transaction to go through. Means there's always checks and balance. All right. Sometimes we are agents to facilitate movement of funds, right? For other churches or for donors. And D will be purpose of the funds and collection. Like sometimes like gift days, all right, this when we collect from your congregation and we will disperse it according to instruction. And some and ministry works and other things like events that at present, right, it's a COVID because of the pandemic, right, we are handling some donation for COVID expenses. All right. And then for check and balance, right, we need to do bank reconciliation, petty cash reconciliation. All right, very often now. And cash, especially cash that comes from the offering bag, right? Transparency is needed. So we have a group of counting team that does the counting and witness and do the verification. All right. So point 3 will be to avoid any criticism. Accounts are open to audit. Internal audit by our financial committee, all right, and external audit for transparency. So because of that, I need to keep my record in order, clear and well classified, all right, so that, you know, there's easy to read and there's no hidden agenda lah for me lah, all right. And if the above action shows accountability, ownership, land weight to apostle statement under Corinthians 8:20. And I would like to thank, you know, the financial team, actually, like teamwork, like SuYan mentioned. Yeah, there's a teamwork because there's only 2 of us in the accounts department. Sometimes cash comes in, the transaction through staff and all that. So I thank the staff for, you know, for their cooperation. They will pass the money to me, but in an envelope or well documented from who and who. So it's all about I have to share. But praise God lah, actually, because of all this new technology and all that, online and all that, right? Wow.
Thank you, Jennifer, so much. Yeah.
Welcome.
Yes, Jacqueline, keep up with her work among the migrants and the needs that are there. So I've invited Jacqueline to share a little bit about her, you know, how she keeps account of all these things.
Good afternoon. Okay, my name is Jackie. Thanks, SuYan, for inviting me to give me this opportunity to share. Basically, what Jennifer has shared, similar in the agency, that the accounting will be done similarly that way as well for agency. Just as what Jennifer have explained. So basically for our agency, because I'm attached to an agency, so agency will work similar way in accounting as well, because we have different projects by different teams and different groups, and we also have people. So for me, because my focus is the foreign migrant worker in this country, so it's also including the refugees, you know, undocumented persons. So the situation is slightly different. So I don't collect general fund. I don't do such things for my area of work. We only go according to the needs. So if at that point the person needed, let's say, surgery, so we only collect fund directly for that particular situation. So we don't keep a general fund for anything. So that is to avoid keeping too many money, too many accounts. It is very tedious, really very tedious. And so basically when we, for example, let's say a call came in to a referrer, say that can be referred by individual or by the migrant worker directly calling us, or by another, what they call that, NGO. So it depends. The channel can come from different sources. The need can come from different sources. So what I usually would do, it takes a lot of time. I do counter check. I try to counter check as much as I can whether this person have actually asked for funds from other NGO or other groups, as far as I can. If they have already been helped by someone else, I will not help. I won't take up the case unless the other NGO say we can't handle, can we work together to collaborate, then we try. So there is teamwork. There's always teamwork. It's never one person. Or even if, let's say, I'm one in my team for this project, I will raise up volunteer. I will not do it alone because I don't like to handle funds, because the whole handling of the case management is already a lot of things. So I will have teams inside the inner team somewhere. So each one handle different things. So I always have someone else handle the funds, because I just cannot handle too many things to handle in that case, because it's not just handling money, because I have to deal with hospital, I have to deal with the client, I have to deal with other aspect as well of that case management per se. Okay, so basically we do not also give money to the recipients. We do not practice that. So for example, if it's surgery, we will liaise with the hospital. So the money collected, like these days, a bit easier because it's online, that kind of facility. So that really helped a lot. And on top of that, with the MCO, we can't go out. It's really restricted because of the 10-kilometer radius SOP and stuff like that. You know, sometimes we can't even go to the hospital. So I will call the hospital. So they have letter from the hospital to say this case has been coming to them and what kind of surgery, how much and everything. So we actually know it's not something made up by the person who asking for fund. We actually counter check. Okay. And so then when the money raised up, it will go to the person in charge of the account. So this person will have to do all the accounting, all the check and balance and everything, you know, and I will check as well, because we will tell the donors usually, when they send the receipt, when they donate the money to the account person, also to me. So there are 2 persons. This is how we keep track. So I also know the accountant have received the money. The accountant also will inform me. I also got it from the donor, so we know the three counter check, so that we know we are handling the money, carefully. Okay, because we know these are God's money. It's not our money. And so this is how we do it. So when the hospital say time to pay the bill, whatever amount we have, we will try to release. We don't want to keep until end of the day one lump sum. So as long as we receive some, we will directly channel to the hospital already. If we get 500, 500 go. If we get 600, 600 go. So until at the end of the day, it's lesser and lesser to raise as well. And we also always tell the people to not look to us. We are not your God. We cannot provide. Always we tell them to look to God. And we always make it clear whatever amount can be raised till the day when, let's say, for example, 15 is the day of discharge. And if the money only come in that's it. So we also want them to understand you are trusting God, not trusting us. We want them to always direct them. So for example, if it's referred by another migrant worker and that migrant worker is a believer, I will also use the opportunity to disciple. So he will be also involved when you are referring. You walk through the whole process. I do not want to frighten them, but in the process, they are learning how to help other people themselves, how to help their own people, how to account, how to be transparent, how to be honest. So it's all simultaneously happening. That's why I do not want to handle the account, because I have other objective in mind as well, to disciple them if the referrer is a believer. So he also learned. Then he can do the same thing later on to also help and serve his community. Okay. So if, for example, if grocery, we also don't give cash to buy grocery. So we have to also raise up another team on the ground to receive the money to buy the grocery and deliver. When the recipient receives, they will also take photo to show us what are the grocery received. So we know, and then when the person who buy, they also send us back the receipt from the shop. So we know. Okay. And if it's a renter, they needed renter, we will tell donor, you send directly to whom the owner of where they are renting. So the money will never go through the recipient, as in the migrant worker. So you go directly, if it's renter, go directly to the place, the owner of the house that they're renting. So there's all this accountability, because now it's a bit easier. The receipt come, to WhatsApp and all these things. So we use a lot of WhatsApp to and fro, that kind of thing, to go give accountability. Yeah. And if it's, let's say, the children's education, so we also tell the donor, you adopt these children, you send directly to whichever refugee education center that they are receiving the education. So it go direct, the donor to the school gives the accountability. Then we also know. So we will try our best never to go through giving to the recipient. Not that we don't trust them, but we felt this is a way where we can account, where we can keep account. Yeah, the check and balance and all this. So there's a lot of, so if it's a receipt from hospital, we get it from hospital. If it's from the school, we get it from the school. If it's the renter, that donor account, donor and volunteer. So it's all there. There's photos and everything. So this is how we keep track. It's very tedious. It's really very tedious. Money coming in from who, money going out from where, So this is how we do it, to make sure that what money is properly used and accounted with transparency and everything. So if, because now we have statements, so we can counter check who comes in. So the account will give me and let me know, this money coming from where, which day and all this thing. Beside the donor also sending the receipt. So this is how we counter check. So if a third party asks for audit, everything is there. And at the same time, you just imagine, for my case, it's individual donor, we have to give account again. So it takes a lot of time. Okay, and try to put out the account. And I also try to get the person who received the money to write a thank you note, so that the donor know who they have given to, how they look like and all these things. Sometimes I ask them to give me a testimony. So sometimes I have to find people to translate if it's written in their own language. Then all this takes time. Then after that, I try to put out a final account, final report, and give to each individual donor. So that is my experience. Yeah, thank you. Back to you, SuYan.
So, brothers and sisters, I trust that you will be inspired, through this short time of sharing, lunchtime devotion, to see, serving the Lord in different ways. That we are called not worthy stewards, And also, I think very important to be faithful intercessors. You see the intricacies of and the complications of having to manage so many things. They do need our prayers, right?